thank you, thank you. So I'm not that secular, I mean, and I'm מתחזקת on a daily basis. I just came here from a visit in a conference of Chabad organization, and frankly, I'm spending my days here in New York mostly with religious and Orthodox Jewish organization because, as you said before, it is extremely important to me to represent the wonderful Haredim Kehila both in America and in Israel. It's one of my biggest missions as a minister in the Israeli government. I want to talk about the concept of Israeli heritage because it's quite interesting. If you ask what is an Israeli heritage, you'll get so many answers. I want to go back to my grandmother, my dearest grandmother who lived in Isfahan, Iran. Maybe, let's go 70 years ago. If you would ask her what is Israel's heritage, she would have said, to keep your Jewish identity in any cost, and she did. To keep kosher food, to keep the Shabbat, to remember where she came from, and to let her children know that no matter what, and no matter under what dire circumstances, their Jewish identity is the most important ingredient of their life. If you ask a founder of Israeli kibbutz 70 years ago what is Israel's heritage, he would say probably Zionism and socialism. He would probably talk about Marx and all these social values. If you would ask an American progressive democratic student today what is Israel's heritage now, he would talk about tikkun olam and universal values. If you ask a European progressive student today what is the heritage, the main heritage of the Israeli people, he would say that it is apartheid, an occupation, and all sort of things that comes by after this huge, massive propaganda that Israel suffers from. But the interesting thing is that no matter who you ask, and no matter what he thinks about the Israeli heritage, positive thinking or negative thinking, it always evokes huge emotion. And there is no parallel example, I think, to any people or any other heritage like our own. And it's interesting to me. It's interesting to me because Israel has become the main pillar of the heritage of the West. We are the founders of the Western civilization, and we brought this message, this heritage, 3,000 years ago. This is not disposable to me. This phenomena, this miraculous, fabulous, unbelievable phenomena is a phenomena that we need to explain. How did it happen? How did it happen that 3,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, we were dispersed to all the corners of the globe and somehow we managed to maintain our Jewish heritage no matter how bad the circumstances were, no matter how much we suffered from anti-Semitism. Our heritage gave the world a treasure, an unparalleled distinguish between what's right and what's wrong. And I'm talking about the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness. All of these values that the modern world, the Western world are embracing so hard came from us, from a very, very ancient time. And for me, the Torah, the biblical stories, the prophets, the Talmud, are our real heritage. We live now in a very difficult time when you see the division between the Israelis themselves. When I got my job as the Minister of Public Diplomacy, I made one clear decision, and that decision was not to disconnect anymore between my Jewish identity and my people's Jewish identity and my Zionism, because all those who did this job before me used to speak about how wonderful Israel is. We have wonderful beaches. We have wonderful LGBTQ parades. We do wonders with cherry tomatoes and water technologies. Please like us. We are the innovation country. We are so lovely. We're so nice. Just don't hate us. But nobody did one thing, and that is to be proud of the fact that we are the Jewish nation and that our story is a transcendent one. Our story is an ancient story that came from the word above, that we brought to the world. His values that we brought to the world. The simple fact that there is one God and we are His messengers. And I refuse to be embarrassed by the fact that I am Jewish and that I care about Judaism. I refuse to be afraid of it. And I refuse to deny the fact that for me, the Haredim in Israel, the ultra-Orthodox community, is the most important community in Israel today and forever. And I'll tell you why. A few months ago, we had in Israel the Memorial Day for the IDF casualties that died for the land of Israel. And in this very, very sad and tragic day, ministers from the government are going to visit cemeteries, military cemeteries. And I went to a cemetery in Bnei Brak, a cemetery in which 400 Haredim died as soldiers defending Israel. And I stood there and I said out loud that the Jewish Orthodox community is our real Iron Dome. That the fact that we have Talmidei Chachamim that study the Gemara and the Torah on a daily basis, this simple fact is the fact that keeping us alive, not a bit less than our great, great army. We need to combine these both. I see my beloved Haredim brothers in the Israeli government always apologetic, always scared to say the truth, always needs to defend themselves. They always talk about how much they contribute to Israel, they contribute to the weak communities, they contribute to the cripples, to the sick, they contribute here and they contribute that, but they never speak about the real great contribution. And that is the fact that every Bachur Yeshiva in Israel that gets up in the morning, opens a Gemara book and study, changes the world up there and protect us. Because the truth of the matter is that as wonderful as Israel is and as great as our army is, we would not survive one day without the prayers and the Limud Torah of Haredim. I'm a new minister, only a few months in my job, only a few months in my office. And this is a new office and I'm building it from scratch. But once my office will stand on its feet, it will go directly to this direction. We, the Jewish people, live in Israel because this is our home. And Israel is our home because God gave it to us. Israel is our home, our moral home, not because we are the innovation country, not because we're so great in technology, not because we are so liberal to the LGBT community. All of these are great and important values. This is our home because we are Jewish, because we are Jews. That's the transcendent truth, and that is what I'm going to represent to the world. Thank you very much, and enjoy your food.
You mind two question and answers?
What?
Somebody ask you a question?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
We're having tonight two question and answers. The first question will be presented by Mr. Zev Brenner.
Thank you for your beautiful words. You should be applauded for what you're doing.
Thank you.
So my question to you is, how do we parlay this to other people who were secular backgrounds? They should also have the same love for all Jews, including Haredim, considering we're seeing such a great divide and hatred in Israel.
It's a great question, and this is the project that we are working now. We made a very deep research about the Israeli society and how it's divided, and we found out some unbelievable data. Israel is now divided this way. There is a group, about 17% of the Israeli population is on the Orthodox, the Orthodox group. Spectrum. It's like the Haredim, the Kippot Srugot, the Chardalim, the ones that, the religious group, 17%. On the other end of the spectrum, there is the Jews that are anti-Israel, and they have a heavy anti-Jewish sentiment. This group is approximately 13% of the Jewish population in Israel. In the middle, you have two groups. The liberal secular group that doesn't represent an anti-Semitic and anti-Zionistic sentiment, but they look at their Jewish identity in a very cultural way, like Bialik is Jewish for them and Marx is Jewish for them. It's more on the cultural spectrum. But the biggest group in Israel, the biggest by far group in Israel, is the Masortiim, the group that nobody talks about, the group that always defined by what it's not. They are not secular, they are not religious, they are somewhere in between, but this is the biggest group. And that group, main sentiment is their Jewish identity. And we found out that both central groups, the liberal secular one and the Masortiim one, are very similar in many ways. My job, I don't think I will ever be able to pursue or to convince the 13 anti-Israeli, anti-Judaism group, this 13%. I'm not even trying. But to try to speak to the hearts to my brothers in the left or in the center that define themselves as Jews and as Zionistic, but not as close to the practice sentiment of Judaism, I think I will be able to do that. And I went today to Chabad, and they gave me such a great lesson about Kiruv Levavot. They never create antagonism, no matter what. They are able to speak with anybody. I mean, they go to campuses with Jewish, progressive, unaffiliated students that have piercing and tattoos, and they somehow manage to bring them closer. And I believe that with a dialogue, open dialogue, without disrespecting anyone, listen to their fears, because they have a true fear. They truly believe that our government is here to attack their liberal values, and we're not. I believe that if we'll do it in a bright way, in a smart way, with open hearts and understanding that no matter how much I believe I'm right, my main goal is to unite the people in Israel. This is my main goal, and not to be right. I believe I will be able to do that. I hope. I pray every day.
Mr. Stanley Sved, Vice President, Israel Heritage Foundation.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you for coming. So there's a common thread I've discovered in my small mind tonight about a possible solution. And because the government is a lot more, let's say, leaning towards traditional Judaism and more sympathetic and doesn't like to see textbooks being sympathetic to the poor Arabs, why is it that, for example, I have a 94-year-old mother who's a Holocaust survivor. She goes into the worst schools in Philadelphia and speaks about the Holocaust. These people have no clue. But just like Mort said, when they start realizing what the facts are, they have an eye-opening experience. The one thing I think that could help the Russians, that could help the non-from Israelis, why is it that this government can't bring in my mother to speak to high school students? And my mother was in the first Israeli parade in Yerushalayim, 1949. She came as a survivor and kissed the ground. You can't listen to her and not get inspired.
Of course.
Why is it that the government now isn't bringing in such people into the high schools and the schools and teaching the kids about what their heritage really is?
Well, we actually do that with the survivors who lives in Israel. There is a new tradition that we make. It's called Zikaron Basalon, a living memory in your living room. And on every Memorial Holocaust Day, we have, it's wonderful. It's very moving. You can see that almost in every neighborhood in Israel, in every city in Israel, there is one living room and people are gathering in and sit quietly and listen to a Holocaust survivor for 3 or 4 hours. And, unfortunately, in a few years from now, it won't be able because we lose these survivors.
Other people, not just survivors, that are Zionists, religious Zionists, why can't they also go into the classroom?
I, as a member of the Israeli education system, used to, I think it's still going on, but I remember as a student and as a pupil, from, I think, even kindergarten until high school, every year on Yom HaShoah, we had someone who came and spoke about it. It's happening. That is not the danger to me. I'll tell you what is. The way that now the left wing, some people of the left wing are using the Holocaust to make their point in front of the Palestinians. For them, the lesson of the Holocaust is that we should not be like the Nazis. For me, the lessons of the Holocaust is that whenever anyone will dare threaten my life or my kid's life, he will meet great weapon and a great army and determination. That's my biggest fear. And you can see how this idea, but this horrible, horrible event that's called the Holocaust is being dismissed now. Everyone is a Nazi now. They call me a Nazi even. If you express any Zionistic, patriotic, Jewish value, immediately they call you a Nazi. I'm speaking about a small but very loud Jewish group within Israel. And this is my main fight. This is my main goal, to try and to save this memory, because once I'm compared to a Nazi, the Nazi is compared to me, So it's like almost denying the Holocaust. That's the biggest threat for me.
Mr. Larry Gordon, editor of the 5 Times Jewish Times.
Thank you very much, Minister. You made an extraordinary presentation.
Thank you.
I think one of the main points of contention between Israel and the Palestinians, it seems, and I think that's been reiterated by prime ministers for many years, is the refusal of the Palestinian leader to say that Israel's a Jewish state.
It's a religious refusal,
But I wonder if he would say, okay, it's a Jewish state. who's going to decide what a Jewish state is? Nobody has said what you said tonight. And if a leader of the government, if a prime minister or a leader of government could say what you said tonight, I think it would clarify a lot of things. But I don't think there's anyone there that has that kind of courage.
No, I think that Benjamin Netanyahu does have that kind of courage, and I'll tell you a secret, a small personal story. Once we won the election, he called me to his room, Benjamin Netanyahu, and then he told me, I want you to open a new office, an Hasbara office, but I want you to do something new. Don't talk about artificial, shallow Hasbara. Don't sell Israel short. Make a deep Hasbara. Explain the world why this is our land. Explain the world the connection between the Jewish people and this territory. Explain the world why the fact that the Jewish people live today in Israel is one of the most moral, magnificent facts that have ever existed. And this is what I'm doing. This is the change that I'm bringing, because I saw and I see until now the Hasbara that the other offices are making, and there is a deep need for a much more thorough Hasbara, to give data, to give explanation, because I see the ignorance. I see the ignorance not only between, among students in progressive North American campuses. I see the ignorance in the international media. They ask questions, so basic questions, and they simply don't know the history. They don't know, for example, the fact that once we were dispersed from our country and spread it to all corners of the globe, nobody lived in Israel. Israel was neglected. Israel was half swamps and half desert. They truly believe that the ancient Palestinian people lived there for thousands of years. I mean, they really don't know basic history. So the thing that I'm building now is a huge portal, a huge platform that combines every explanatory details in short videos about archaeological items, historical explanations, information, data that the world simply doesn't know and that we have neglected and never bothered to explain. So information for me is now the greatest thing to do, and I'm going to use the social media to create this platform. I'm going to use you guys for this also. I want to spread it to millions of people in every country. There will be my tubes to spread this information in short but informative clips. And I believe that I can make a change. I can. Thank you.